You're listening to The Real Short Box, a comic book podcast made for geeks by geeks.
Brothers and sisters, welcome to the most powerful, most essential, most quintessential, and the most righteous podcast on the internet today, The Real Short Box. My name is Kevin, the doctor of pop culture, the doctor of history, and my two righteous brothers are with me, and they are...
My name is Donald. I'm the king of comics.
My name is Jared. I'm the jack of hearts, your hearts, and I want to win them all.
Aww.
And if not, I'll stalk you until the day you fucking die.
Jesus.
I'm sorry that got dark. Because we're not talking about the Dark Age anymore. We're talking about the...
modern age.
That's right.
Modern Marvel.
Modern Marvel. That's right. This is our next installment of our history of Marvel Comics.
I believe this is our last installment.
That's right.
Of Marvel
Yes.
Comics.
Oh my
This is
God. we
part
made it to
500, I believe.
the end. Yeah. No, let's not get crazy. It's 497.
Oh, silly me.
Yeah, we had a couple of subplots in there and but
Right.
yeah. So yeah, this is it. This is going to be the modern age, because the modern age, it just keeps going until they're going to rename it another age.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
You know, we're in the 2000s, 2010s, you know, going into the 2020s soon. So, yes, until this age is called something, whatever it's going to be renamed as. Maybe it'll be called like the TV age or the media age.
Media age would be a good one.
That'd probably be a good
Yeah.
one when it's all said and done, because this is like the rise of the MCU as well as in the other rival company, DCEU, and other
Right.
television shows, Walking Dead, so forth and so on.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys know, but Marvel has put out some movies.
A few.
Yeah,
Quite a
there's,
few. Quite a few that
yeah.
have made about $11 billion
Yeah.
up to this point.
using their superheroes.
In Marvel, also, I noticed after the movies, they have characters that have the most facial hair in comics.
Well, like Thor and...
Yeah, there's Thor. There's Tony Stark.
Mm-hmm.
There's Stephen Strange.
Yeah.
There's Hercules.
Uh-huh.
I mean, that's 4 right there that I can think of off the top of my head.
Lots
Wolverine?
of facial hair.
Yeah,
Has facial
Wolverine
hair?
has facial hair sometimes.
Side chops. Yeah, he's got
Yeah,
that.
the mutton chops. That makes sense. Mutton chops, Wolverine.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So to start this off, I kind of wanted to go since the topic I was going to talk about kind of teetered on the dark to modern. I figured I would save it more for modern, but I wanted to talk about 2 characters. One of the characters would be Venom.
Yep.
Now, Venom's gotten a lot of press recently, specifically because of the announcement of the movie with Tom Hardy being attached.
Right.
Mm.
Whether that comes to fruition or, not,
We will see.
we will
Yeah.
see.
He did,
But,
he did abandon the Suicide Squad
That's
one.
true.
But
I've
good
abandoned
job.
my child.
Good job, Tom.
But it's kind of funny. He's playing 2
right
characters
choice, Tom.
involving Venom of some kind, going from Bane to Eddie Brock Venom.
Yeah.
No, I'm Marvel's Reckoning.
That'd be great if he does do some weird. I mean, obviously he's gonna make a voice choice, but
Yep.
a voice choice.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, Tom. I trademarked that. You owe me $5 every time you use it.
Ooh, $5. That's good.
Yeah, I'm
That's a lot of
hardcore.
money.
You'll be broke in no time, Tom Hardy. No time.
Well, this was my voice choice that I use. Oh, I've got to pay
Was
Jerry.
it? It'll always be Jerry. All right. So, conception and creation of Venom. The original idea of a new costume for Spider-Man, yes, it originally started in Spider-Man, Boils and Ghouls, that would later become the character Venom, was conceived of by a Marvel Comics reader from Norridge, Illinois, named Randy Schuler. So hats off to you, Randy Schuler.
Thanks, Randy.
Came up with this idea. Marvel purchased the idea for $220 after the
Wow.
editor-in-chief at the time, Jim Shooter, of course, sent Schuler a letter acknowledging Marvel's desire to acquire the idea from him in 1982.
Wow.
Schuler's design was then modified by Mike Zeck, becoming the symbiote costume. Shooter came up with the idea of switching Spider-Man to a black and white costume, possibly influenced by the intended costume design for a new Spider-Woman with artist Mike Zeck and Rick Leonardi.
Mike Zeck is the shit, by the way. I would totally. He's a definite old school artist that I don't think gets enough credit.
I agree.
Yeah.
Definitely. As well as others, that helped design it, the black and white costume. Writer-artist John Byrne, there's another guy that doesn't get enough credit,
Nope.
states on his website that the idea for a costume made of self-healing biological material, was one he originated when he was the artist on Iron Fist to explain how that character's costume was constantly being torn and then apparently repaired by the next issue, explaining that he ended up not using the idea on that title, but that Roger Stern later asked him if he could use the idea for Spider-Man's alien costume. Stern, in turn, plotted the issue in which the costume first appeared, but then left the title. It was writer Tom DeFalco and artist Ron Frenz who had established the costume was a sentient alien being, and also that it was vulnerable to high sonic energy during their run on The Amazing Spider-Man that preceded David Michelin's. Now, in Spider-Man, this is where we get started with this. The symbiote first appeared in Marvel Superhero Secret Wars number 8.
Just picked up a copy. It is gorgeous.
Cheery.
I'm sorry. It sounded like Donald Trump right now.
Cherry stuff. Yeah.
Fantastic stuff.
It'll be great.
Yeah.
It'll be fantastic.
It's fantastic. It's great. It's the best.
Yep.
Best copy ever. Nobody has a better copy than me.
Yep. May 1984 is when that issue came out. Writer Jim Shooter and artist Mike Zeck depicted the heroes and villains of the Marvel Universe transported to another planet called Battleworld by a being called the Beyonder. After Spider-Man's costume is ruined from battles with the villains, he is directed by Thor and the Hulk.
What the hog?
You know, I had more dental work done, guys. I'm sorry. I am slurring a little bit, so I apologize. To a room at the hero's base where they inform him a machine can read his thoughts and instantly fabricate any type of clothing. I'd sound drunk. Choosing a machine he believes to be the correct one, Spider-Man causes a black sphere to appear before him, which spreads over his body, dissolving the tattered old costume and covering his body to form a new black and white costume. To Spider-Man's surprise, the costume can mimic street clothes and provides a seemingly inexhaustible and stronger supply of webbing. Pretty cool.
Yeah, I remember the unending webbing was like the shit. I was like, that's cool.
Mm-hmm. Peter Parker later had his costume examined by Reed Richards, who discovered that it was alive. And when Parker realized it was trying to permanently bond to Parker's body, he rejected it and was subsequently contained by the Fantastic Four. The symbiote escaped and attacked Parker, who used the sound waves from a cathedral's church bell to repel it. Now that sounds familiar.
Mm-hmm.
Now we get to the good stuff, guys. Eddie fucking Brock.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
David Michelin would later write the backstory of Eddie Brock as the alien's new host that would become the villain, Venom. Using the events of Peter David's 1985 Sin Eater storyline in Spectacular Spider-Man.
Which is a great story, and you can get it in a trade. It's really good.
Highly recommend it. It was the basis for Brock's origin. Venom's existence was first indicated in Web of Spider-Man number 18, when he shoved Peter Parker in front of a subway train without Parker's spider sense warning him. Though only Brock's hand was seen on panel, the next indication of Venom's existence was in Web of Spider-Man number 24, when Parker had climbed out of a high-story window to change into Spider-Man, but found a black arm coming through the window and grabbing him, again without being warned by his spider sense. Venom made his cameo appearance on the last page of The Amazing Spider-Man number 299.
I got that one. Sorry.
When he terrorized Parker's wife, Mary Jane Watson, and made his full appearance, full frontal nudity, in...
Wait, what?
Wait, what?
No,
Oh, okay. So he made
full frontal Venom.
full frontal Venom in Amazing Spider-Man number 300.
Do you have that, Jared?
Yeah.
Well,
You
have
like
that.
Peter's cock? Check this symbiote cock out.
Spider-Man would confront him in the following issue when Brock reveals that he was a Daily Globe reporter who worked on the Sin Eater case, and that his career was ruined when it was discovered that the man Brock announced as a Sin Eater was a compulsive confessor. So Brock had it out for Spider-Man. The symbiote loved Brock's rage
And especially at Peter Parker.
and bonded to that, and
Yeah.
it does become a loving relationship actually
Mhm.
between Eddie Brock.
A truly symbiotic relationship.
Exactly.
And
yeah.
he goes, the whole thing too, like I remember they explained, because he was just like a normal guy. And then he went nuts. And he's like, I heard working out helps. So it just shows him like pumping out. So it becomes like a fucking like,
Like a
steroid
meathead.
head.
Like a meathead.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So a meathead with the fucking symbiote is just...
So we get through that, and Eddie Brock kind of loses the symbiote. It goes to a guy named Mac Gargan,
AKA
a.k.a.
the
the
Scorpion.
Scorpion.
Yeah.
Offered him new abilities as a second Venom. Gargan bonded Gargan bonded with the creature, which would later give him an extra edge as part of Norman Osborn's Sinister 12. So basically, Gargan later he became a member of a subgroup of the Thunderbolts, and fought Spider-Man, and Eddie Brock was anti-Venom, I think, at the time.
He was no Gargan. I love the Scorpion. He's one of my favorite Spider-Man villains. He was no Eddie Brock by any means with the symbiote, but he definitely. They actually did make him really cool, guys. In the especially in the Warren Ellis Thunderbolts stories. And stuff
I agree.
Like they actually did pull him off, and I think he got it in like an auction. It was like for real. It was like they were auctioning off the symbiote, and he like got it.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah, because he's like, I've been getting my ass kicked by Spider-Man. If I had that, I'd be fucking badass.
Yeah, that's true.
And he was. God bless you, Matt Gargan. You fictional villain.
And then was there another?
Oh yeah, Two more. Yeah, Flash Thompson.
Oh yes, Flash Thompson.
He was Venom at one point in time. Birth of the new Venom can be seen in Amazing Spider-Man 654. Came out February of 2011. Venom was revealed to be Flash Thompson. Flash is hired by the government to be a special agent wearing the Venom symbiote. Flash is only allowed to wear the suit for up to 48 hours or risk a permanent bonding with the symbiote. The government is also equipped with a kill switch designed to take Flash out if he loses control.
Suicide Squad type thing. Huh?
Yeah.
Flash also, if I recall, was missing a limb.
Was he?
Yeah, I think he was missing a leg or both legs or something. And the symbiote
kind of reformed it
gave
for
him that. Yeah, and gave it back to him.
Agent Venom, right?
Yeah,
that's what he was called.
Yep. And then there's another guy.
Another guy?
And this is relatively new. Lee Price. After being separated from Flash Thompson, which was also recent, through unspecified means, the Venom symbiote happens upon a black market deal between Black Cat's gang and Tombstone's gang. He resorts to bonding with one of the men present, a discharged Army Ranger named Lee Price, who was with Scorpion as part of the Black Cat's gang. The weakened symbiote pleads with Price, attempting to convince him to become a hero like Thompson. Price ignores and overpowers it, intent on using it for personal gain as a new, wholly villainous Venom. So basically, Lee Price eventually, he makes his way back to try to get revenge and stuff and blah, blah, blah. Lee Price eventually loses the symbiote when Eddie Brock and Spider-Man take him down and he's arrested by the NYPD. Now, this is when Eddie Brock hears the symbiote saying, Eddie, I love you. Eddie,
remember how much fun we used to have, Eddie?
Exactly like you would see in horror films.
Eddie, you're my number one man. You are
my number one. So Eddie breaks in and bonds again with the symbiote, and we currently have Eddie Brock again as Venom.
As it should be.
Should be, yes.
So Lee Price is like, who was the guy that was James Bond for like one...
George Lazenby.
Yeah, he is the George Lazenby of the Venom
Completely useless character. Completely. I mean, I tried to read a little bit of that run.
Really?
Yeah. No good. Didn't get good.
It's kind of like that third person who was Green Goblin for like 1 or 2 issues before he got killed.
Oh, right. Or like the 1,000 people that they ended up having be Hobgoblin.
Oh,
yeah. Fucking ruined that whole thing.
Yep, ruined the character. So that leads to one other guy, and I'm going to go over him pretty briefly.
Okay.
David Michelin, or Michelini?
I think it's Michelin. I think you're right.
Created Carnage.
So he had a hand in Venom and Carnage. This guy.
Yes,
he also, I think, did Cloak and Dagger, if I'm not mistaken.
That would make sense.
So.
Yeah.
He wanted to create a darker version of Venom, intending to have Venom's human alter ego, Eddie Brock, be killed off originally.
Really?
Yeah. In Amazing Spider-Man number 400. And then he was going to have the symbiote suit continue to bond with another series of hosts. However, as Brock and Venom's popularity increased, Marvel would not allow him to be killed. So Michelin decided to create a new character, a total psychopath, who, unlike Venom, had no sense of morality. The character was originally meant to be named Chaos, and then Ravage, before being settled on Carnage.
Yeah, I'm glad.
Now, I've said
that. Chaos sounds fucking stupid.
I've said it once, I'll say it again. Cletus Cassidy, a.k.a. Carnage, was, and they even say it here, character, they modeled him after the Joker.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's funny, too, if you look at the original, in those first issues.
He kind of looks like
him.
He
looks like a
with red hair.
A ginger Joker.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly. And he's Marvel's force for chaos.
Yeah, completely.
He's a natural disaster. Same thing as the Joker.
Mm-hmm.
Unpredictable. That's what makes him work so well. Cletus Cassidy was introduced in The Amazing Spider-Man number 344.
I got that.
I knew it. first appears in Carnage in issue 361.
I got that too.
All right. He's a main villain in 1993's Maximum Carnage crossover, a 14-part storyline.
Ignored all that shit.
Oh.
But hey, I have every issue that I kind of enjoyed it. It wasn't as good as the original 3-parter, but it was fun.
Yeah,
It was fun.
I played the video game.
So here's a little bit of early life about Cletus, just to kind of give you a background.
Poor guy.
Cletus Cassidy's a psychopath and a homicidal sadist. He's a deeply disturbed individual with a dark past. As a child, he killed his grandmother by pushing her down a flight of stairs,
Wow.
tried to murder his mother by throwing a hairdryer under a bathtub, and tortured and killed his mother's dog with a drill.
We've all been there.
After the latter, his mother then tried to kill Cletus and was apparently beaten to the brink of death by Cassidy's father, who received no defense from Cassidy during the trial. As an orphan, Cassidy was sent to the Saint Estates home for boys, where his antisocial behavior made him the target of abuse from both the other orphans and staff. Cassidy gained revenge by murdering the disciplinarian administrator, pushing a girl who laughed at him, in front of a moving bus, and burning down the orphanage. It was during his brutal years at this estate that Cassidy acquired his philosophy that life was essentially meaningless and futile, that laws are only words, and came to see the spreading of chaos through random, unpatterned bloodshed as an ultimate freedom.
I could kind of go with that. Oh shit, am I a homicidal maniac?
So then he became a serial
Just
killer.
maybe.
He was then captured and sent to Rikers Island prison for 11 murders, though he bragged about killing a dozen more. This is where he shared a cell with none other
Eddie
Brock, the host of the alien symbiote. Now, when Eddie escapes, a piece of his symbiote suit or outfit, the little piece of an alien, gets stuck there in the brick, kind of where he busted out from, attaching itself then to Cletus, thus creating the complete insane psychopath.
Well, my understanding was I thought it was some asexual reproduction that came, where actually the original symbiote just spawned off, and then that's what attached itself to Cletus.
No, I think originally I remember that issue. There was the jailbreak, and it was almost like, I mean, it doesn't really make sense because you think the symbiote would just follow him,
yeah.
But it got stuck for
Yeah.
real, yeah. And he was just left behind, and Cletus was like, "Oh, that looks yummy."
Yeah, it wasn't like it didn't voluntarily. It just got left behind.
Just got left behind.
Yeah, and then it recreated itself or with Cletus. So basically, thus creating Carnage, aka Marvel Joker.
Yeah,
and that's I think two extremely important characters for Marvel,
especially in this day and age.
Yeah, especially now.
And you told me that Carnage book that came out, was it last year or earlier this year?
Last year I believe is when it came out.
And you said it was, especially the way you described it to me, like people are stuck with them, like in this mine or something like that. Mine shop, something
almost
like
like aliens.
Yeah, like aliens. Yeah. I mean, that's like a horror movie right there. I mean, that's some frightening stuff right there.
Sony, if you're smart, that is the story you want to mine right after this Venom movie.
You talk about a hard R-rated movie.
Yeah.
Well, Venom's going to be R.
Well, yeah, but you talk about the Carnage thing that he described.
Yeah.
That's a hard
Bring it in a mine shaft.
If that's what I'm saying though, because Carnage is going to be, they've announced he's the villain in the Venom film. So if they keep him around, that would be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
like, perfect sequel.
They also bring the Darkhold into it.
Really?
Which is also a perfect way to bring in the Marvel Dark Universe.
Yeah.
Such as, the
Werewolf by Night, Blade, Midnight Suns,
and those guys. Yeah, all those things.
Right.
Great idea. So anyway.
So a story I want to talk about as far as in this modern age that I think was a real turning point as far as the maturity for Marvel in the mainstream was a story called Guardian Devil. It was an 8-issue Daredevil story arc originally published by Marvel Comics. It was from Daredevil 1 through 8. Now, I will say when they relaunched Daredevil with this story, they relaunched one of the best. I'm just like, keep going, just get better writers, get a new team. But when they relaunched Daredevil with this team, it was amazing, and it almost and the teams that came after it just kept making it better. Like Michael Bendis did it for a while, and then Brubaker. But the team that did this was Kevin Smith, who you might know as filmmaker and writer from Clerks, Mallrats, Chasing Amy, and I think at this time those were the 3 films that had been out. And interesting, and this is why I'm saying it's a turning point too, it was illustrated by Joe Quesada, who would eventually become Marvel's head, right? He was like editor-in-chief. So the 1999 graphic novel combining the 8 issues into one collection features an introduction by Ben Affleck. So this is like, this story was about Hollywood. This is, to me, even though Hollywood had, been either propositioned by Marvel or Marvel tried to, or Hollywood tried to proposition Marvel. This was actually, to me, the first melding of like a true fan of the genre of comic books, which Kevin Smith was, especially after you saw Mallrats. You saw what a fan he was of comics with all the Wolverine references and such. And the bottom line is he wrote a hell of a story. Like, it really did. It took, what I loved is it took a lot of the Frank Miller story arcs and brought them into the modern world and introduced them to a modern audience. Now, I'll just give you a little synopsis of the story. The love of Matt Murdock's life, Karen Page, has just left him forever, claiming that she needs to determine who she is without him in case their feelings were just based on surviving everything thrown at them so far. The man without fear is angry and vulnerable. The only thing left for him to believe in is his Catholic faith, something he has not fallen back on for years. And what goes on after this is a whole story of pretty much a mind fuck of Matt Murdock's belief in Catholicism and the church and whatnot. His mother, who we found out, I think earlier, was a nun in the Catholic Church. They all culminate in this. It culminates in, yes, spoilers if you haven't read this, with Bullseye, an arch foe of Daredevil, killing Karen Page, who she has remained dead, I believe, to this day. And this was after also they rigged it so that she told him she had HIV. They pretty much fuck up Matt Murdock's life and everyone around it. And at the end of it all, you find out that this was all a huge ruse, a dream, hallucinations, a billion different things, but it was all, none of it was, it was real, but none of the facts of it were real, is that it was all orchestrated by none other than the Spider-Man villain, Mysterio.
It was so well done. Yeah.
That is evil.
Yeah, and nobody saw that coming because Mysterio is such a Spider-Man villain. And even at the end, he like explains it. He goes, I could never get Spider-Man. I could never beat him. So I thought, you know what? And he found out he had a brain tumor. He was going to die. So he says, I could never get Spider-Man. I could never get him. So I figured, you know what? I'm just going to go for one of the others. I don't even care. I'm just going to fuck up their life. So it was so random and fucked up. And it ends with him blowing his brains out, a la Kraven's Last Hunt and all that stuff. So yet another suicide in the Spider-Man world. But it was so well done. And it really, to me, it was just going like, wow. Not only is, I mean, you knew Kevin Smith was a good writer, whether you like him or not in his films. But he really adapted to the comic book genre like so well. And I think, honestly, like the hype that this story got, because I remember went to multiple printings, that story. I think it really, not only did it get Kevin Smith writing other books, he wrote Green Arrow and DC, and I think he did a hell of a run on that. And it also, I think, it really boosted Joe Quesada, because I think Joe Quesada was the one who kind of brought Kevin in, who got him, interested in it. And
yeah, because Marvel was floundering.
Yeah, completely.
And Kevin and Joe kind of stepped in and went, we've got this idea, and it kind of almost saved Marvel.
Was this like before the Ultimate lines was launched?
I think it might have been like after.
Or just after.
Yeah.
Right around the same time, I want to say, but I'm not 100%.
This was like 99, 2000. This is the cusp of from when we were talking about the Dark Age to the Modern Age.
Okay.
And to me, the repercussions of this story really permeated into what Marvel has become today because I think, honestly, like somebody, like people on the outside in the entertainment industry going like, hey, Kevin Smith just seriously wrote, because everyone knew, like, in the entertainment industry, that's a huge pay cut. You're not making, that's you're doing it out of the love.
Right.
He wasn't making what he was going to make for a film.
You're not going to see, what's the name, Shane Black run over and right.
He
Spider-Man book.
He wanted to write a Daredevil story. But because of that, a lot of other celebrity, whether they were novelists or other filmmakers or even comedians, have all now
dipped their hands
in it and written some great stuff. So to me, this was the turning point. And honestly, I definitely link this to what became of the MCU later as far as the cinematic universe, because this to me was a really successful combining of the movie world and the comic book world.
Yep. And it put the guy in charge.
And put Quesada, I think it definitely gave Quesada the juice to become the head honcho.
It would find like Brian Michael Bendis to help write some
Who came up with the idea that Wolverine should not smoke cigars. No smoking in comics. That's what he did.
That is messed up.
He did a lot of great things, but then he did some like really kind of just agenda things.
Right.
Which is whatever.
Brian Michael Bendis, to me, I love him because I think what he did with Avengers was great. I think what
What do you think about that?
Is that how he talks?
Yeah,
He's like a Tarantino?
He's basically Marvel, what Jeff Johns did for DC, he did for Marvel.
I was just going to make the comparison. But the downside was these guys were doing... They got rewarded too much. I mean, rightfully so, and then too much as far as they get too much responsibility as far as, like, you can't write every book and be in charge at the same time.
Right, stretch yourself too thin.
Yeah. So,
like butter over too much bread.
Exactly. Although you could never have too much butter. I love butter.
Well, it's the bread. It's too much bread.
That's true. Fuck the bread.
You can't always have bread.
Just eat the butter is what I'm saying.
You like
guys.
carbs?
I think I was about to make a Fabio reference or something.
I can't believe it's not. I'm not going to say it.
Yeah.
Pelican?
Yeah. So, yeah, I think that was an
Seal.
integral part of the modern age as far as where we're at today.
Indeed. And to get to my part here, we're going to briefly talk about the interesting workings of people trying to purchase Marvel Comics in the late 90s.
Right.
Now, one of the owners in the late 80s was Ron Perlman, who ran Revlon. Perlman.
It was Hellboy.
Yeah, not Hellboy.
Not Hellboy.
Or, what is it? Sons of Anarchy guy.
Hellboy.
Yes,
He's like, I'll buy your fucking company.
Like, you don't have enough money. He's like, you're right. I'll see you later.
Yeah.
My big face.
Gonna make a couple devil movies.
Yeah.
I'll be back.
Yeah, it's one of those Wall Street corporate raiders from the 80s, you know, that basically like Wall Street, what's the guy named? Gordon Gekko.
Mm-hmm.
Like one of those type of characters.
Comics
Yep.
are good.
Yep, got into comics.
Greed and comics are good.
And around this time, Stan Lee, of course, was, you know, semi-retired, you know, doing his thing. And what happened later on was Stan Lee was in a position to actually buy Marvel Comics.
Doggy style?
No.
Oh, okay. He's in position.
No, he was
a boring missionary. He's an old guy.
Yes, he ran into a character named Peter Paul, who was like a lawyer, businessman who defrauded Fidel Castro back in the 70s.
What about Mary?
Yeah, was Mary there?
Yeah.
No, Barry was not there, but Peter and Paul were in this case. Peter Paul.
Wait. Was it the Mounds guy?
No.
Because, you know, like, Peter Paul used to be the company that owned Mounds and Almond Joy. It was Peter Paul's Mounds and Almond Joy.
Really?
Oh, I did not know
they were an independent company. Yeah.
We don't care about
Knowledge.
Snickers. We just want Mounds and Almond Joy.
You like
the
coconut?
nut things.
You like
exactly.
coconut? We're the coconut guys. Peter and Paul coconuts.
Yes, in the early 90s, they were going to try and buy it off of Revlon and take Marvel public, essentially. But Perlman looked at that and said, you know what? I think I'm going to do it instead. I'm not going to sell it. I'm going to take Marvel public. And basically, you know, when you get an IPO, you get raise a certain amount of money in shares and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
So unfortunately, Perlman took that money for himself and his other companies and basically mounted the debts of Marvel Comics. In fact, they made some really stupid purchases. They bought Fleer and Skybox cards.
Totally worked.
Now, I will say that Skybox was known for being exceptional in the baseball card world.
And basketball too later.
Yeah, they were like
they're the
kind
fancy
of
ones.
the creme de la
fancy,
creme. Yeah. They had the little gold foil, I think, in the corner or whatever.
But in the 90s vein, though.
But the problem
didn't
was,
add up to shit
the trading cards had their crash just like about 5 years before the comics books
If you think it's hard to find a comic book shop near you, look for a
sports card.
baseball card shop.
There's like one for every like 5 comic shops.
Exactly. So they spent a lot of money, ridiculously overpaid. So this would later, of course, lead to the comics crash going on around the same time, and of course they had to file for bankruptcy. Now, one of the other interesting players that was interested in buying Marvel was no other than the king of pop, Michael Jackson.
Ooh.
Michael Jackson formed a friendship with Stan Lee, and he asked him, I said, hey, if I'm able to buy this company, will you run it for him? Will you run it with me? He's like, yes, absolutely.
Shut him out.
Yes, exactly.
Wasn't it true that he only wanted to release Power Pack comics, too, because of the...
No.
He's like, I really like this group of kids and the superheroes.
Oh, shit. And I guess he only wanted to print them in black and white.
Oh, it's black, it's white, it's white. Yeah. I kid. That's
and he
not
did,
true.
too.
Yeah. But it is true that he was
Michael Jackson was very interested. Matter of fact, he had a partnership with
and buying a
jeez. Yeah, he had a partnership with a Saudi prince, and I want to say his name correctly here. I want to get it right.
Interesting. What's his name, Kevin?
His name is Prince
Peter Miller.
Prince Al-Walid bin Talal.
So
Wow.
Michael Jackson and this Prince were gonna buy Marvel.
Yes.
That's a mouthful.
That
Yes,
would
they
have
were.
been crazy.
It would have been very interesting. But the thing is, Michael Jackson had the insight till he looked at a lot of the Marvel comic characters. He foresaw it, said, look, these could be big movie properties if they're done correctly. So he actually thought about it. He actually
Right.
looked at it and he actually saw the future. But Ike Perlmutter, you could say, kind of cock-blocked him.
Yeah.
Because Toy Biz, his company, already had a share or a percentage share in owning Marvel, and he also sat on the board of directors. And he was kind of in a fight to wrestle the company away from Ron Perlman. So he basically told Michael Jackson,
A lot of pearls.
I was just gonna say Perlmutter.
yes,
Like
I know,
a bunch of
all these
nasty,
peas,
like,
all these
mayonnaise
peas.
companies or something.
Yes. So basically,
Perlmutter's mayonnaise.
so basically, you have
Chunky style.
this corporate battle going on, and Michael Jackson, he actually had an investment firm look into it, on helping him purchase Marvel, and he was serious.
He
Yeah.
was serious.
He was dead serious. And what happened was Perlmutter decided to kind of, you know what, if you want the company, you got to pay us $1 billion.
He was straight up a smooth criminal.
What?
$1 billion. Now, in the late 90s, it
He
was
bad. He was
yeah.
bad.
Yeah, in the late 1990s, this was pretty absurd. $1 billion for a comic book company, or even with their licensing deals and the toys.
Now you can't beat it.
Now it would have been a great deal because, as we know, years later, Disney bought it for $4 billion.
Right.
Yeah.
But, after that, Michael said, that's it. We can't do it. And he walked away. And then, of course, Perlmutter stepped in and was able to take full control and kick Perlman out of the way.
Right.
And, they got Disney. They got Marvel out of debt.
Close enough.
Close enough.
Yeah.
And, of course, the thing that really, truly saved Marvel Comics and Marvel in general and got them to the point they were was when they decided to form Marvel Studios.
Right.
As we know, the movies, the first one, Blade, 1998, it was something that they had a little involvement in, but they just didn't get, obviously, much money out of it. They just put their name on. You saw the little
Right.
flashy logo.
They licensed out to
Licensed
other
out to other
studios, like
studios.
Spider-Man.
Surprise.
Yes.
and Ghost Rider went to
And
Sony.
Sony,
X-Men and
Fox,
and
and Fantastic
Four
Four,
went to Fox.
Daredevil as well.
Daredevil also went to Fox. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. This is
So-
where actually, the whole fucked up rights
Yeah,
shit happened.
because the bankruptcy kind of forced them. They had to get money, so they had to license out the movie rights to a lot of these characters.
Yeah.
hmm
And,
And it wasn't all bad.
No.
yeah, it actually turned out to be the best thing ever in hindsight. Because yes, they lost a lot of these major, like their top characters of the time, but they still had other characters that eventually would save their.
And it's so interesting which one does.
Yes, it's funny you mentioned that. Iron Man.
Yep.
Now, in 2005, they got the credit they needed to start and finance Marvel Studios to be independent. It had about $500 million in credit, and the very first movie was indeed Iron Man. Captain America, they thought about, but they realized it already had some other iterations that didn't work out.
Right.
But they said, Iron Man, this is something that's new. Let's try this out. Let's see how it works. And Robert Downey Jr. was in a very low point in his
That's a man.
career.
There's two people I credit.
And Terrence Howard as well. Let's not forget about him. He was also
who?
Terrence
No,
Howard
no.
was also
Not
a small
Terrence
actor.
Howard.
No, I'm sorry.
And yes,
No.
a lot of people don't know that.
No.
I'm serious.
Yeah.
Now, of course,
We
Jon
don't care.
Favreau,
We
obviously,
don't care.
is a major
That's
character.
what I'm going to say. There's actually three people, and I take that back as two. There was Shane Black.
Yep.
Now, Shane Black if he hadn't given Robert Downey Jr. that chance as another like dual starring role along with Val Kilmer
Uh-huh.
in Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
Right.
That was the precursor.
Yes, that was kind of a test
Right.
for Downey. Very important because Shane Black spoke on the character of Downey while filming that
Right.
and how professional he was and
Because
changed.
he was
and-
hard to just insure at that time.
Yeah,
Right.
because he would get on a bender
Right.
and end up in some little girl's fucking bedroom
Yeah.
on the floor
Mhm.
crying or some shit. It was
Yeah.
crazy
He
what
did
this
fucking jail time.
what
Like,
this shit was going on with
Yeah.
him. And another thing was Jon Favreau for backing the choice.
he fought for him. Yeah.
Yeah,
And Terrence Howard was a friend of his, also vouched for him as well.
you're right. Terrence Howard did.
But he's
He
such a
did.
weird dude.
Yeah.
Indeed, but hey,
Yeah, but
they're all weird dudes.
Yeah.
And then and then of course Robert himself. Robert, I don't think Iron Man would have been anywhere near as successful if
Nope.
it had been anybody else.
No, because you
No,
know what's
he
funny?
was made for that.
He was made for it because what he was going through in his life, and then related to the character itself of Tony Stark, also having his ups and downs,
Demon
his
in a
personal
bottle.
demon in a bottle.
Completely. Yeah.
It was like the perfect character for him to jump into.
For those that don't know, Demon in a Bottle was a Robert Downey, or not a Robert Downey. It was a Tony Stark Iron Man run in which Tony Stark realized he was an alcoholic and had hit rock bottom.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just all about him dealing with the ramifications of trying to be a superhero and addiction.
Like doing fucked up shit in the suit and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah,
Like,
very, very well done, very
Yeah.
powerful, and something Marvel/Disney, had to glaze over in the movies because they were, targeted for kids too.
yeah.
And
Maybe they touched
and
upon it in
a,
two.
a
right?
little bit, yeah, and I understand it,
Yeah.
but it's still a seminal piece of work. I highly
Yeah.
recommend you seek it out.
I remember when they said that. I mean, I was a Robert Downey Jr. fan prior to that, and when they announced that, I was just like 110% on board. I was like, "Yeah, that's perfect because
Yeah,
he can play."
Yeah, because Tom Cruise and
Yeah.
Nicolas Cage were attached originally,
Right.
at different points.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, when I heard about Robert Downey Jr., I got excited too. Like, you know what? He's the perfect person to play him
Because
because
Tony Stark is that smug,
Yep,
kind of can be an asshole, but is also charming and endearing
Yep.
at times.
and he plays it to the hilt, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Yep, he does, and I think he's single-handedly kept the momentum going
Yes,
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
for
He-
Marvel.
He got the ball rolling, and this movie was a big risk. Obviously, had this failed, it would have been curtains.
And you look back and you think, oh my God, how could it have failed? You look at like a perfect storm.
It didn't have
You
a complete script, so
you
it
have
could have.
Favreau, who's just a genius director. If you ever
Yeah.
seen what was that one?
Just Zathura?
Zathura.
Mhm.
It's fantastic.
And a hell of a writer too.
Yeah. And then you look at the small little piece that Favreau did in Swingers.
Right.
That was
Iconic
it
90s film.
Yeah, I mean it was iconic, and it also showed like a small piece of direction of how you can have a character film, and he just knew how to direct that Iron Man to be a personal film on an
Right.
epic level. It was, and then you had basically a man in a robot suit, and I didn't think about it at the time because I'm a full grown adult.
Mhm.
I didn't think, oh my God, dummy, it's like Transformers but with a dude inside, so
Right.
people can relate.
But also, remember I told you at the time when they were about to do this movie, I said if the movie's done right, what is Iron Man? It's basically a combination of James Bond and Batman.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, sorry to interrupt everyone. Just wanted to mention real quick about a shop in Canoga Park, California called Spiro's Heroes. Elliot, the proprietor of the store, has over 300,000 books in what's called the Temple of Comics. That's Spiro Heroes in Canoga Park. Spiro'sHeroes.com.
Yes, 2008 when Iron Man was released was a absolute cornerstone in the history of Marvel and comics, as well as the history of Hollywood.
And now I know you're going to get into who purchased Marvel after this. Was this the only movie pre-Disney from the MCU?
From MCU, well, there's one.
I know Blade and all that.
Well,
but
there was one other. Well, obviously, we're not
Not
counting
Man-Thing.
we're not counting X-Men and Spider-Man, obviously, because we're talking about within Marvel Studios itself. Well, they had the Incredible Hulk that came out a couple months later with
Ed Norton?
Ed Norton, yes.
Oh, that was pre. That's right.
Yes.
Okay.
And that was good. It was solid.
I thought it was good,
Unfortunately,
yeah.
it came out on the heels of the first Hulk, the Ang Lee one.
Yes.
Yeah, it was too
five
close.
years. 5 years
Which,
later.
yeah,
Close, yeah.
for way too close. People were confused.
Yeah.
Oh, they're reissuing or they're re-releasing it?
Is it a
No, they're not
sequel? Yeah.
re-releasing it.
I thought Norton did a great
He
job.
did a good job.
Yeah.
Now, the great thing about that movie is that it connected to Iron Man. This is where they started the shared universe concept.
That's right. You
Mhm.
had
Yeah, Nick
General
Fury,
Thunderbolt Ross.
Thunderbolt
too,
Ross.
at the end.
Yeah, and people got legitimately excited.
Especially when I mentioned the Avengers Initiative. So
Yep.
this was something that this was another big risk because they were smart. They realized we're not going to do an Avengers movies yet. Let's do the individual character movies first, and we'll build up to the Avengers, which
Yep.
was brilliant.
Yep,
Right.
absolutely brilliant. And I mean, and that just gave the excitement more. Just it kind of built upon itself then at that point, and you had movie after movie after movie. I think culminating with their best yet, which would be Captain America 2.
Right.
The Winter
which
Soldier.
was part of Phase 2.
I think was fantastic. It was just a really well done film and,
And-
highly rewatchable.
And Marvel, if you think about it, probably underpaid $4 billion. A lot of people thought, "Oh my God, why are they paying $4 billion?" But when now you look
Yeah,
at it,
they're
it's
getting
like
their money's
they're
worth,
getting their
baby.
money's worth, and then some.
Guardians of the Galaxy alone.
Exactly.
I mean, if somebody would have said,
Ant-Man.
if somebody would have said, "Let me buy Guardians of the Galaxy off you, no other Marvel property, just that, and I'm going to make it a hit,
Yeah, $20.
a hit movie," somebody'd
Yeah.
be like, "Go fuck yourself."
Exactly.
You know?
Hey, Ant-Man.
Yeah.
Look how ridiculous that sounds.
Yeah.
And now the money that they've made from this,
They're printing money.
yeah, they're printing money, but that not only that, but Marvel's getting it now. I think like Disney's getting it. They're like, well, we need to put out a certain amount of books. We need to take a certain amount of chances. And we need to keep introducing new characters because highly based off the fact that if let's say a certain actor decides to not come back as that character
Right.
and they're in the middle of their run
Right.
of movies, they now have an alternative, an option to
Mhm.
replace somebody with somebody else.
Black
Right.
Panther can replace Thor if necessary, something
Right.
like that. you
Right,
know?
Winter Soldier replaced
Soldier-
Cap. I mean,
right,
which
exactly.
happened in the comics.
It's very interesting in this modern age. Hey, how the movies reflect onto the comics, whereas before the comics reflected onto the movies.
Yeah.
Also, I will say one thing: because of Marvel movies, everybody doesn't even matter if it's a Marvel movie anymore. Everybody just stays for the credits now.
Yep.
Everybody's always like, "Do I stay? Do I wait? Is there going to be something extra in this movie?"
Yeah.
All because of fucking
they,
Marvel.
they didn't create it,
They didn't create it, no.
but they really defined it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll still be with my wife today, and we'll be watching a movie like Logan, and we were like, "It's not Marvel, it's Fox," because Fox does it too
Right.
sometimes, and we're like,
Should we wait?
"Wait, no," or I'll Google it. I'll be like, "Well, let me Google
Yeah.
if we should wait," and I'll be like, "Nope, we're good."
Did the same thing for Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
And in fact, when Planes, Trains, and Automobiles came out, it came out in like 86, 87, right?
87.
Right.
Yeah. I did not know there was an end credit scene until about 3 years ago.
I didn't know until right now.
Yeah,
What?
okay. There's legitimately an end credit scene at the end of the credits in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, and it's worth seeing. I'm not going to
Okay.
tell you what
Okay,
it is,
yeah,
but definitely watch it. Wait for Thanksgiving, though.
Okay.
It'll be a nice little
Yeah.
treat.
And this year's the 30th anniversary of that movie,
Yes,
so
it
it's
is.
perfect.
So, speaking of anniversaries, that's the anniversary of our first segment of the Marvel podcast that we've done. So this is our last. So we're bookending it.
We did it. That's the history of the Marvel Universe. Obviously, it's still going, so we can just keep going. But
And there's so much we
Yeah.
couldn't get everything in. But
It's impossible.
We did what we could with what we had.
Yeah. So with that, subscribe to us on iTunes, rate and review us if you can.
YouTube.
We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube. If you don't want to, do that whole subscribe to it. Hey, Donald killed a bug. We just got one. We're
Bare
not
hands.
bug murderers.
I thought you're a Buddhist.
No.
No, not anymore.
Nope.
He is a
Just
serial
my belly.
killer. So yeah, rate, review us, love us on Facebook, Instagram, all that stuff, and we will see you at the comic shop.
This has been The Real Short Box. We'll see you at the comic shop. Thanks for listening.